Hey everyone, Brian Zane here. I'm joined by Jay Biggs, and normally on Wednesdays you would see an episode of Who Wore It Better, where I review Raw and Smackdown for the week. But after last week, I feel my trust was violated by Raw, so I decided to take a bit of a sabbatical and just for this week not watch Raw or Smackdown, just kind of do a bit of a detox. And so I wanted to still provide content for the week, and so I decided, hey, Biggs, why don't you and I watch a recent independent show that took place last month that a lot of people are still talking about.
Right.
When Game Changer Wrestling went to Los Angeles Survivor Series weekend, it was that Friday, they went to the Hi-Hat in LA and put on Joey Janela's LA Confidential. This is a show that a lot of people talking specifically because of what happened in the main event, which we'll get to. It involves a certain former WCW champion. Kind of a long and storied tale leading into this show because, of course, for those of you who don't know who Joey Janela is, he is a wrestler who worked for CZW, best known for taking this most ridiculous bump of all time when Danzig throws him off like the roof of this building through this like big light bulb and fire contraption, nearly died. That's sort of the huge. And of course, now he's a big player in GCW, which has become kind of a spiritual successor to CZW / rival. And and he's been hosting a lot of shows. Last couple of years for Mania Weekend, it's Joey Janela's Spring Breaks 1 and 2.
Right.
And this year, he's not only done Spring Break, but he also put on Lost in New York a couple of months ago. And this is his follow-up to that. And so Janela has quietly become one of like the more popular bookers to watch in the independent scene this last year or so. He has a nice blend of like the current guys who are making waves, also like figures from the past, Japanese legends. Right. He's really going all over the place, and it's cool that GCW is giving him that leeway to kind of put these, to let him put these shows on. First, let's talk about the venue. The Hi-Hat, like I said, originally was supposed to be at the Avalon in Los Angeles, several miles, I believe, west of this location. But then the Avalon backed out like a week and a half beforehand because they found out that the current champion, Nick Gage, has a criminal record. He spent time in prison for a bank robbery 8 years ago. And we can't have that. No, sir. We can't have that kind of presence at this obviously distinguished club.
Right.
So they found this new venue in the Hi-Hat. And I don't know, and you and I talked about this all night, watching the entire show. I don't know if the Avalon was like a much fancier venue.
Yeah.
Or what they lost when they traded up for the Hi-Hat. Because if you've seen the set for Lost in New York, it was very nice. And that was probably more of a venue thing than anything else. Because this was, it was a rock club, basically. It was a concert hall.
Well, we've had similar shows that we've done locally, even, so I get it. On the fly, if this is what they were booking because they had no other venue, I understand it. But hopefully they planned it out just a little bit better to where there was at least some room around the ring for spots, maybe an entrance of some sort other than your shitty indie fed who lets people come out of the door.
There was a moment in the show where this couple came out running down the stairs when it was somebody's entrance time.
It's like entourage.
Oh, somebody's posse?
And then the restroom sign right there, too, as you come out.
It was
very humbling.
Very humbling, very DIY, very underground, you might say.
Oh, my gosh.
We also noticed that Jesse Hernandez was kind of man the door.
Yeah, he was trying to steal, my buddy Jesse stealing Tornado's Thunder as he comes out.
You can't escape Jesse Hernandez. That's the rule we've established here. But yeah, it was just, that's the first thing we took away from this was just the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Before any matches happened, oh my God, this place looks like it's a very,
It reminded me of a Hood Slam show with the lights on, kind of, in a way.
It was very Hood Slammy. It's basically, that's your setting for your modern day, like, trendy indie wrestling venue, is that kind of aesthetic. Right. But, let's talk about the first match here. We open with DJZ versus the Great Sasuke /Sasuke, depending on how you pronounce it. I'm not going to debate that issue here. Of course, Sasuke is Japanese legend. He actually wrestled Joey Janela at Spring Break 2 in New Orleans this year. And he's older, obviously. It's been a long time since his prime. And you see that in this matchup. It is not your typical, what you imagine in your head a Great Sasuke match to be.
Right.
But I think they made up for it. I think that, there was one part that I almost turned the computer off. Because there was, in a minute in the match, Sasuke was doing the hypnosis spot.
Right. It didn't transfer well to camera. I don't think. Maybe there in person, the first few rows knew or something, but I don't know. It just didn't transfer well to camera, and it was too early, I think, for that kind of shit.
I think
That's just me, though.
if you have the power of hypnosis, why don't you just beat him right away with it? You know?
Yeah, and at that point,
if you have the power to meld minds and to manipulate people's bodies, I don't know.
And you know what? Hey, he's got something on the dick flip too, being able to flip somebody with just your mind and not even having them commit some sort of sexual crime.
People give Joey Ryan shit with the dick flip, and this was like that to me. Way worse than the dick flip, because at least with the dick flip, there's contact, and you could. To me, it's more plausible to flip someone with your dick than with your mind. That's all I'm saying. Less than 5 minutes into the match, Sasuke does a swanton or a senton move onto the apron and he misses. Like, first 5 minutes. Like, this is, you know, and I will admit, I'm not really used to the GCW style. As the show went on, I was, really. This is what they do. This is how it is. And, you know, again, it's supposed to be kind of a CZW alternative. So that's what I really should have kind of went into knowing. But at times I was like, the fuck is this? Just so many.
There's many times of this throughout the night.
So, yeah, I do believe, you know, as the match went on, things got better. I did enjoy Sasuke's stalling pile driver. He went to all 4 sides to show off, see, I'm about to pile drive this guy now. And then he did it. So nice to him for the follow through. He wins with a top rope maneuver of some kind. My feet lagged like right when he was coming down, so I couldn't quite see. He said it was like a leg drop or an elbow drop,
yeah, I thought it was an elbow drop or something.
Also, one thing I want to mention in the match, this is the first time we got to see them using the environment around them to do spots. And we saw DJ Z jump off of the audio booth, which was butted up right against the ring. You mentioned earlier about how there's no room to do anything. We found out that was not necessarily the case. They made it work, but that first few minutes of the match there, DJ Z running off the audio booth to do a jumping, like a springboard DDT essentially.
Right.
So they made the best with what they had with their environment, I think. But again, you kind of question, you just kind of sit back thinking, I wonder what would have happened if they had the Avalon. Would it have been bigger? Would they have had more room to do stuff?
Right. I'm going to have to look the venue up at this point and see it. I'm just interested to know.
Yeah. I mean, it was a solid opening match. You know, hypnosis, flip aside. I enjoyed it. Sasuke working, you know, he's not working at the level he used to, and that's to be expected given his age. But I think he was still able to perform to a satisfactory level. What did you think of the match in general?
You know, out of what, 4 stars or so?
If we're sticking with the 4-star rating.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd give it 2.5 or so. You know, it got over. It was an opening match. You know, young versus old, which is a good mix, and pretty much what this whole brand is about.
I gave 2 stars out of 4. I'm going to say it's right down the middle. Up next, Tony Deppen versus Jungle Boy. Now, Deppen, I'm familiar with the name, but I can't say I've seen any of his stuff. But Jungle Boy, I am pretty well versed with because I've worked with Jungle Boy a lot at APW in California. Right. This is his first real big exposure here with GCW. He's kind of known pretty well on the California circuit, but this is kind of his big, you know, his coming out party, so to speak. Yeah. And I think he totally killed it. What do you think?
This was my first exposure to both men, actually, and I thought the match was decent. It went way longer than it needed to.
No, you think this match went long?
Yeah.
You're in for a treat for the next match.
Well, I know this because I just sat through it. But let's just say both guys look pretty good. Deppen, man, he played a great heel, and I was telling you this from the beginning. Yes. All the little things that he was doing. Deppen is a great heel. He did a great job. Jungle Boy got over very well, and the crowd was into him from the beginning. You
could tell that I think his family was right by Kevin Gill on the Crow's Nest, because like their cheering was the most audible of all. From his entrance, the whole match, you could just hear like that was the most. Right. So it's like I think, and even KG mentioned it, like, oh, his family's near here. Because they're getting picked up by the microphones.
Really?
But no, I mean, beyond just that, he was definitely universally beloved during this matchup.
Right, no, absolutely. They both shined, but once they went outside, to me, the match should have ended right before that. So everything past there was completely unneeded in this match. But what do you think?
Well, that's what indie wrestling, a lot of that in a nutshell is. A lot of unneeded stuff. Because we do get a bajillion false finishes with these insane moves and stuff. We get kickouts and whatnot, and only for the match to finally end with a heel roll up, grabbing the tights so Deppen can win. What we saw was literally what Rip Rogers tweeted about a year or so ago that spawned this whole dive headlock debate. If you go, I'm sure you can Google it and find it, but like his description of an indie match, that's what Rip Rogers was warning us about, because that's the match we got. Not to say it was a bad match. It was just like, that's the template. And I was entertained. It was, you know, just from a level of, seeing a colleague of mine make it on this level. But also the match itself was also very entertaining in a way. There was a lot of crazy stuff. They were both very athletic and very very nimble, I guess is a word to describe
Well, you know, also Jungle Boy got the "Please Come Back" chant too.
He did, yes.
So they obviously liked his shit.
Even in defeat, the fans loved him, and also I do believe he is booked on GCW's next show in New Jersey later this month. So GCW is definitely loving Jungle Boy now. I have a good feeling that what we saw happen in Marko Stunt's career after Lost in New York and how he suddenly became so well known, I believe this is Jungle Boy's moment. LA Confidential is to Jungle Boy as Lost in New York is to Marko Stunt. How would you rate this match on a 4-star scale?
I'd go with 3.
I agree with you. I think 3 is also my rating. Up next, this is a match I was looking forward to a lot when I first saw it signed, just because on paper, I love this idea. You have Hardcore Holly versus Brody King, who as of this past weekend from this recording, just got signed to Ring of Honor.
Right.
So Brody, congratulations, and best of luck to you there. I love the idea of this match when I first heard it, because I was never a huge Bob Holly fan when he was wrestling for WWE, but I just like the idea of these two guys who are known for just beating the hell out of their opponents and each other.
2 hosses.
And so, yeah, just beating the fuck. It was just I loved that idea, and I was really excited to see this matchup. Just, again, lots of hard hitting. It's the whole story. You don't need anything more than that with these guys. King kicks out of the Alabama Slam. I don't know, did we see the drop? Did we see the best drop kick in the business from Hardcore Holly?
No, we didn't see that.
I remember seeing it.
It was teased, but no, here's my opinion, right? Okay. Is that Brody King looked pretty good. What was the first words out of my mouth when he came through the curtain, though? Because I was he looks like Aleister Black, kind of.
Yeah,
I'm just not very exposed, so please, don't hate on me, internet wrestling community.
Yes.
I'm just not as exposed to these guys. So, anyways, but to Hardcore Harley, yes, I am, because when he came out, I said to myself, oh my gosh, he's aged quite a bit. And then he gets in there next to Rick Knox, and they look like twin brothers almost.
Rick Knox, the referee, by the way.
Right, yeah, the referee, Rick Knox. And it's like, wow, what the heck, But they went at it pretty good. He got the Alabama Slam on him. But the finish was a little bit lackluster.
It was a lariat. And in a show that has all these ridiculous moves and finishes, for a match to end on a lariat,
it was just out of the corner too. It wasn't even like
a little underwhelming.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
But I think Holly looked okay. He didn't do anything amazing necessarily, but he could still go. But I do love the fact he did look. He's aged a lot. He's lost a lot of bulk, a lot of mass. He looks aged now compared to what last time we saw him. But it's funny because even after losing the match, he gets on the mic and says, "I look a lot smaller because I'm not in the gas anymore."
Yeah, their kayfabe's dead now on that one. That's why I just asked him, is the statute of limitations, off on McMahon. Reopen the case.
Reopen the steerage.
Proving it guilty.
If anyone tells you they're not in the gas, they're bullshitting you.
Yeah. Wow, that's blown out of the water.
Beyond that, though, I think he was very gracious standing in his promo. He's very complimentary of GCW and the fans. So maybe we'll see more of Hardcore Holly. But who would imagine that in 2018 that little old me would hear right in an indie show in LA, and I would pop for it. It's just amazing.
Bar.
It's amazing what wrestling can do. It's an intergender, interracial extravaganza. Their words, not mine. As Penelope Ford takes on Human Tornado, although that is technically correct. Anyway, this was a match that I was really curious to see because I'm familiar with Human Tornado's stuff, a lot of his earlier work in CZW, and I've been seeing a lot. I think Penelope Ford's had a very good year. Her showcase at All In during the Janela Hangman Page street fight and her little moment to shine, and what I've seen of her work beyond that, I think, and also NWA 70 when she wrestled Jazz.
Right.
It's been a very good year for Penelope Ford, and going against someone who's well known in the independent circuit like Human Tornado, but who is on the twilight of his career. I believe he said on Twitter this was his final match.
I love Craig, but he said that so many times now.
Has he?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is, and there's just something I don't know. But still, I hope as a wrestling fan's sake, he's not done with. But if it's for his benefit, then by all means. That being said, my first exposure to Penelope Ford. First thought, very pretty girl, very curvy, So, but she got in there and she impressed me. There was a couple bad botches.
That's putting them mildly.
Yeah, that's something I would say for, with her anyways, is that we had some botches.
Yeah, at one point during her comeback, she was trying to do a springboard thing off the middle rope and she slipped. And then KG tried to cover for it by saying, there's sweat on the ropes, possibly other bodily fluids. What do you think's going on in the wrestling show?
It's Penelope Ford.
All over the ropes. It's possible. As my dog has now entered the shot, you can barely see her snoot here.
As asked for in many reviews.
Here's Doggy. But at one point, Penelope's screaming Meanwhile, she's got Human Tornado in like a submission, like the primal scream. I will say, before they actually got underway with like big action, there was a lot of like intergender shtick. This match had pretty much every kind of like every trope you've seen in like intergender matches today. There's like
dude, I love it when he had her in the corner,
the boob touching.
Oh yeah, the boob touch, and then he was doing his kicks in the corner, and then he went to spin around and do the nut shot, and then he realized, wait a minute, there's no nuts, and so they did the you can't see me, and then basically ran back coast to coast or like a kick or
pillar to post. Yeah,
it was.
And knocked her face off. I mean, say what you will, Human Tornado is still very entertaining.
Oh, it was great.
Years later. Big top rope snapmare thing to Penelope off the top, and I thought that was a finish, and then it wasn't. Tornado gets the crowd against him in a huge way. Like, even, they were doing a sequence, he just takes her down with a big clothesline, and then she's down for a long time at that point, and then Human Tornado's just kind of like soaking in all the booze and everything. He's like picking her up and like clapping and everything. It's weird because I've never seen him as like a heel before, and I think the balance of heel and face, I feel it moved a lot in this matchup, where there was points where you could cheer either of them, boo either of them. That was very interesting. Eventually, Penelope wins with a big old spike DDT, so she comes out on top here. I think this match, you could have cut, I'd say 8 to 10 minutes off of this match, and it would have been a lot better. It would have been a lot more succinct.
You could say that about a lot of these matches, in my opinion, tonight.
Yeah, at least it ended with a definitive like move after all the crazy falsies instead of like grabbing the tights, that sort of thing. It was, I would probably give this one 1.5 stars, because I think the length and also the number of botches as the match went on really dinged it for me. I think Penelope looked great. I mean, she looked like she got killed a couple times, but she more than held her own and did look strong for the most part against him. I was entertained by this. Y'all know my feelings about intergender stuff, and he'll tell you he's against it.
Well, I'm actually coming, and I'll say this on camera, I'm coming around a bit more, especially now that I've even had shows where I've booked intergender matches. So I'm getting more used to the idea of it as entertainment. I get that. Mm-hmm. It's just that legitimacy that I have an issue with. Until we have the female versus male NBA and the MLB and UFC, I'm just not going to buy it in pro wrestling either, because we're trying to sell it, even though we know it's theatrics, as some sort of a real sport. So that's the only thing I have against it.
So all told, how would you rate this match?
2 out of 4, maybe.
Okay, so he's 2, I'm 1.5.
Just because I really love the Human Tornado.
Bonus points if
you like the guy.
Yeah. Up next, Ethan Page battles for his soul and his dignity as a wrestler and a human being once again as he takes on friend of the show, D'Lo Brown. I loved seeing D'Lo here on the stage in this match with Ethan Page. I'm a poet, I didn't even know it.
Right. Well, what I will say this is, it looked like D'Lo was energized and he was ready to go, you know, and the crowd pumped him up, and he even got a moonsault in.
Yeah,
holy shit.
Second row moonsault, he still got it.
Yeah, right. So, definitely this match was actually pretty darn entertaining, I'd say.
I will credit GCW because, yes, they do a lot of matches that involve all these exhausting finishing sequences, a lot of kicks outs and stuff, but when they want to, they can also just book a straight-up match, and I think they had a good stacking of the show, because you had crazy-ass match, not so crazy. Crazy-ass match, not so crazy. And that was a kind of good pattern they had going on for a while. And this was kind of like the come down from the last match we saw. And this match you could describe as kind of like a greatest hits match.
Yeah, he wasn't. Page was doing a lot of Nation of Domination.
Right, between the two of them, we were getting a lot of callbacks to like all the greatest hits of D'Lo Brown and the Nation. We saw Ethan doing the Nation of Domination fist thing. He was doing the head wiggle, and then of course D'Lo did all his shtick, which the crowd loves.
Right.
It was just great. It was not a traditional like GCW match. But I think that's what made it so entertaining to me, because it was like, oh, it's a nice break from the action, and it's familiarity. It's like comfort food. Seeing D'Lo do the leg drop like that, that's like comfort food to me. And he hits him with the lowdown and everything. Eventually, and also, lest we forget, Ethan Page also attempts the people's elbow. He misses, but he goes for it. And I swear to God, if you're Ethan Page, or if you're, his age in wrestling, and how cool is that? If you're that generation, going against D'Lo Brown and doing all these like spots, from your childhood with D'Lo, that's just the coolest thing in the world.
And the crowd popping for it.
Yeah, they dug the whole thing. Yeah. Eventually, here's the thing. The thing that pissed me off about this match was they built it as a no DQ match, and they made a point to say that as well in this particular match. Mm-hmm. Paige hits Delilah with a chair. He no-sells it. He scares Paige off. Paige gets a foreign object, knuckles around his hands or whatever. The referee, who's very attentive, all of a sudden looks way over there. What's going on over there? And then Paige hits him with the knucks and wins that way. He wins dirty, which, fine, but it's already no DQ. Why is the referee got to be distracted? I mean, unless he got...
Just staying with true referee mentality, because they're always not paying attention.
And maybe,
at the right time.
I might have missed it, because I don't know if maybe he got brushed or something, and he just oversold it. But I swear to God, he was way away from any possible contact, and he just had to turn himself around. But that's like instinct. Maybe he forgot it was not an ODQ match or something. But that I thought was weird. And then, of course, Paige gets on the mic and says, by any means necessary. What a... God, that's the big theme with this show, is just like the throwbacks between Bob Holly and D'Lo Brown and then David Arquette. You've got like the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars in a nutshell back here. I loved it. Right. So my rating for this match is going to be 3 stars out of 4. What about you?
I think we're going to have to agree neither guy shit the bed, so we're going to go 3 out of 4 stars.
All right. It's that time of the show where everyone who wants to be on the show, but there's nothing up for them, got thrown into one big matchup. We've got a big scramble.
This I just got to say this real quick, because there were so many things about indie wrestling that I hate that were on this show, but this right here made, just looking at it from someone who's booked shows in the past, I get it, but at the same time, it's like you said, it's almost like, what do we do with these people? Was it overbooked? Did you spend more money? Was there any sense in this? Who did it get over? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's Kikutaro, Delilah Doom, Takeshi Minamino, who I know the least about of any of these people, I'm sorry. Facade, star of Pro Wrestlers vs. Zombies. Chase Owens, representing the Bullet Club. Jake Atlas, and Jimmy Lloyd. I didn't like the format at the beginning when like it was just 2 people in the ring and then people just kind of came and went.
Right.
Like, please. I didn't know if it was going to be a tag format or they were all just kind of like biding their time. It's one of those things where, again, it's to the detriment not having any room for people to really hang out outside the ring, and they're all just on the apron just chilling. Also, I believe, I forgot to mention, I think Facade had a valet with...
Yeah, some girl
that did a spot, but otherwise was not involved in the match. So that was weird that she was even there to begin with. Delilah,
Facade, I just wanted to say this. Facade had like almost zero reaction when he came out. It was very weird to me, but he is East Coast.
Yes, he's not from the West Coast, and it's it's one of those things. You're going to get some people from who are traditionally just GCW people who traditionally work on the East Coast side and stuff. So I'm not surprised he didn't get much of a reaction here because Facade he was a longtime veteran, but not very well known on this side of the Pecos, let's just say.
Right.
Delilah Doom is my story for this matchup because she's all over the place in this matchup, but she fucks up like about at least a third of her moves. Right. In particular, there's one point where she goes for a top rope like code red maneuver. I forget who it was on, and she damn near kills herself, like spikes herself right down the mat. I thought she died.
Right.
It was scary, and it was not the only time she or someone else screwed up in this matchup, and that really took me out of it. At one point, Jake Atlas does this badass like springboard DDT thing on the Chase Owens, but Chase doesn't go down with him at the right time, and so they get a "you fucked up" chant, and Atlas kind of falls on his ass. It would have been a great move if there was just a bit more coordination, but all that sweat, other bodily fluids KG talked about, that might have had a bearing on what happened with the ropes. And then again, right after, there's a moment where everyone gets their shit in on the outside. Right after Delilah Doom does this great tornado DDT. It looks amazing. I've never seen that move done before. And after she does that, then Minamino, I'm sorry, he does a dive and he eats shit. It's like everyone, this match is cursed. Everyone is screwed up at some point. Jimmy Lloyd finally wins the match after a lot of ugly moments. I think everyone, except maybe for Facade and his valet, got a botch in there at some point. They all got a chance to shine, but they also got a chance to not do so well. I give it 1 star out of 4.
I thought because she went for, 3 dives? And
no, you're thinking about main event. I think
okay, yeah, never mind. I'm sorry about that. Regardless, it was just it was a clusterfuck to me. It wasn't a lot of space.
It was an indie show. It was an overbooked indie show clusterfuck. That was what you saw.
And Jimmy Lloyd was the last person I picked to win that. I'm sorry, just not a fan of that guy's look.
He's a rising talent. He's Jimmy fucking Lloyd.
He looked like he was painted on by Facade, or like some of Facade's paint like maybe dripped onto him or something. I don't
Jackson
know.
Pollocked him.
Yeah, or some of those bodily fluids.
Yes. how would you rate the match out of 4 stars?
Oh fuck, like fucking a -2.
-2. Wow.
I've maybe a 1.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't do negative star ratings here.
Right, that's right. That's right.
Up next, you've got Jacob Fatu, who's the current All Pro Wrestling Universal Champion, going against Kyle the Beast, better known as KTB, hailing from the Woods. This match, to me, after watching it, it felt basically this was kind of like a more explosive, younger version, essentially, of Bob Holly and Brody King, where it's like these are two guys who are tough and beat each other up. And they're very stiff looking and they look very intense. But this one had flying and tables was the key difference. And a bit more athleticism involved. That Fatu gets some flying moments early on. I love his, I don't know what you call it, but his cartwheel or moonsault where he changes direction on his way out. That's always a sight to see. They throw punches. They do headbutts a lot. Right. You never headbutt a Samoan. That's the rule.
Duh.
There's a spear by KTB onto Fatu through they kept calling them tables, but they looked like just doors with no knobs in them.
I thought they were sheetrock at one point. They just didn't look like fucking tables.
They had a whole stack of those things because many points throughout the show, these just big white planks, these big white boards just show up and they do stuff to them. But yeah, there's a spear through the first table, big power bomb, and there's a kick out. That kind of made me roll my eyes. But then, they made up for it when Fatu did the jumping moonsault onto KTB through another table that was bridged up between two chairs, followed up with the flipping Samoan drop. I don't know what it was. It didn't look like a very clean move, but it still looked devastating. And Fatu wins the matchup. I'm going to give this one I think it went up to 2.5 for me. 2.5 stars by the end. What do you think about this match?
I was going to give it 2, and Fatu, I'm glad he got a win. It was his debut too.
Yeah, his GCW debut as well, and I hope that he gets a look on GCW in the East Coast, much like Jungle Boy did or is going to. So a good look for the West Coast, and we'll see it in the next match as well, to a point. Yeah, I think it was a solid match. I'd say it was on just a straight up match level, action level. I'd say it was more entertaining than Holly and King.
Right.
But yeah, it was just more kind of a car crash. In our semi-main event, we've got Eli Everfly versus the toast of the town in GCW. This guy was discovered at Lost in New York. Well, I wouldn't say he was discovered, but that's where he blew up and where everyone learned the name of Marko Stunt. Yeah. He really kind of captured the hearts and minds of the internet when he was there, and since then I've seen him get booked everywhere. He's like all over the place. Right. So this is kind of his big match here with Everfly, who's made a name for himself on the West Coast, and now he's getting a lot of looks elsewhere as well. Just basically this match is it's more of what we saw with Deppen and Jungle Boy, with just a lot of high-flying craziness. Everfly with an Asai moonsault to the outside, and he lands into the chairs on the outside when Marko moves.
It went from 0 to 100 right away. Literally, during Stunt's entrance, he started doing some flipping heel kick or something.
Eli jumped him in mid-entrance. Yeah. He pressed X to break out, and he jumped him mid-entrance. Right. This was it's hard to recall and properly articulate the stuff these guys did. It was very entertaining, and then we lose a lot of the action because at one point they go into the crow's nest area, and the cameras can't follow it. Everyone's standing up. Everyone's blocking the shot. We have no idea what happens. You basically have to go on YouTube and find everyone's cell phone footage to see what happened because you damn sure aren't going to get it on the official Fight TV feed. For several minutes, we just, KG is just as lost as we are. He's like, what's going on? I don't know, man. That's your job. You tell us what's going on. Because there's just a lot of stuff we just can't see what's going on. We see another, table, door, whatever, be brought out. They bridge it there, and you just see the tail end of the Canadian Destroyer off the crow's nest, through the table, onto the floor, some commotion. And by the way, it gets no reaction because no one can see it.
Well, yeah, that's what I said to him. I said, well, about 4 people popped on that, and his leg.
Yes, exactly. His leg popped too. I recommend you don't watch the footage, but what happens is as he's coming down and rolling through, Marko's shin comes crashing down on the top of a chair. The front or the top of a chair, I forget which one, but that causes him to break his leg. And so there's some commotion. we don't see what the fuck's going on.
Everfly gets back in.
Referee rings the bell, and they call the match for Everfly. So very disappointing end. Ends on a flat note. Ends on a sad note that Marko Stunt gets injured. Right. He's going to be out for God knows how long. I know he just recently got surgery on the leg, so I hope you get well soon, Marko, and all that.
Well, but in WWE, a broken leg's like what, 3 weeks?
yeah, it depends on what the plot requires. A broken leg can take either 8 months or 2 weeks.
Dependent.
Potato. For lack of a better, I know it's a poor phrase, but it's a tough break for Marko here because I'm not trying to be funny, but it's true because he was having such a good last several months after the success of Lost in New York, getting booked everywhere, I'm not kidding when I say he's been the toast of the town in the indie scene. He's like one of the popular guys right now in the scene, and so this is gonna cost him a lot of money. He's gonna be out for a long time. I hope that when he gets back, he'll be as good as ever. He'll be still doing the crazy shit he's been doing. I hope he doesn't lose much momentum over it and gets back into the thick of things. Right. How would you rate this match?
Until it went downhill, I'd say 2.5.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I'd say 2.5. I think. Yeah, I'm not down to 2.5 just because the finish was just meh. It just kind of happened, and then that was it.
It was very spotty. Very SoCal wrestling, is kind of what it reminded me of.
If you like the spotty stuff, you like the flip-de-doos, then this match and the second match of the night, Deppen and Jungle Boy, were for you. It's the main event, the match everyone was talking about on social media for the last half month or so. It's for the GCW Heavyweight Championship as Nick effing Gage defends against former WCW champion David Arquette, who's kind of had a career renaissance this year. He's been working a lot, and I'll ask you your thoughts on that in a minute. But he was a last-minute replacement. Joey Ryan tore his pectoral about a week and a half before this show, and he was the one who was supposed to go up against Gage. And so, last-minute replacement, don't know who they had to call, or was it Arquette who volunteered? Was it RJ City who volunteered on behalf of Arquette? Right. Who reached out to who is what I want to know at that one. But Arquette was the replacement. So, like I mentioned, Biggs, Arquette this year has been doing a lot. He's wrestled more in the last 6 months than he did when he was WCW champion. What do you think about David Arquette getting back in the ring and actually throwing down at his age and his experience level?
I think it's cool in a way, although I almost feel I am happy he got gear. Let me say that.
Yes.
I love his gear. I think that's cool and all that. I almost feel like, though, that everything was played out with WCW so much that he could have even done some sort of a return with WWE, and it would have even made sense. In a weird way.
He got that. He got that for a minute during the guest host era. I believe he was a guest host for.
Was he? Okay, maybe he was, and I just forgot about it. But all I'm saying is, I think it was pretty cool that this got put onto this card. As a last-minute replacement, if you're going to go, they went big.
It is the most GCW Joey Janela booked thing they could possibly have come up with in a show that also has Hardcore Holly making a comeback, D'Lo wrestling Ethan Page.
Well, and if Macaulay Culkin wrestled him in a death match, then we have something.
That's for next year. You're going to have Culkin versus Arquette.
Right.
Oh, man.
Ready to Rumble versus Home Alone.
Can't wait. Right. With cameo appearance with a run-in by Joe Pesci.
Oh, yeah. With a brick that swings. Anyways, we're getting too intricate.
So, anyway, yeah, I agree. I think that the fact that Arquette is getting back in, it's such a cool thing. It's the bar for him is so low that when he does anything, it's impressive. And I think he's not half-assing it. He's doing it. He's putting the time in to train. He's working places. He's not just wrestling these big gigs or whatever. He's wrestling he's wrestled Northeast Wrestling. He wrestled for Championship Wrestling for Hollywood. He's doing this thing with GCW. He's getting around, man.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool that he's doing this. He's kind of going back to it. I think it's been I think if it happened any earlier, I think if this happened in say 2009, then people would have shit on it. But now that wrestling has gotten to this point where really anything goes, that you've got David Arquette coming back, and people are like, yeah, I buy that. That's something I would believe happening in 2018 in the wrestling scene. But yeah, the match itself, it starts out with, Arquette running scared. Gage lets him take the first shot, and so he takes it, but then Gage just beats the hell out of him.
Right.
It's just nonstop. Then at one point, Arquette does make a comeback with a Hurricane Rana. Then at one point, Arquette does tries to do 3 dives to the outside, fucks up all 3 of them. I think the third one was...
I thought it was the first replay of the night. I'm like, did they just do a replay?
He looked away for half a second, didn't realize that Arquette was doing a do-over, and fucked that one up too. And he's like, did he do the replay? No, that was his second attempt. What?
And then that last one, that was even worse. It was like a deal over or something. Yeah, like he was skinning the cat or something. I don't know.
That one to me... gave off the impression that was kind of like, well, maybe the 3 dives were planned, but they all looked bad. And the third one, he's supposed to kind of stop himself, and then because then you get hit with a bottle or a glass or something, and so then that Gage gets his heat back. He spears Arquette through the table door, and then he brings out the light tubes. Joey Ryan appears to do a run, and he's got the sling in and everything because he's hurt.
Oh, don't forget Messiah,
yes.
Oh.
Another deathmatch alum. And so Joey Ryan gets in there. Messiah breaks it up after Joey Ryan tries to get Gage to touch it. And so they fight their way out the back. And then, during the whole confusion, Arquette hits Gage with his first of 2 diamond cutters on the night. But Gage kicks out at 1 and just snaps. And just proceeds to resume beating up David Arquette.
Shits all over Diamond Dallas Page.
I know. But then we get a diamond cutter through the light tubes that Gage had meticulously... I love the care and the craftsmanship that Gage had in setting up the light tubes between the 2 chairs. He's
he did.
Here? Huh? Perfect. Then he eats the diamond cutter right after. That was great. And then we get a cannonball in the corner. Arquette, before everything goes sideways, Arquette looks like $1,000,000 here. He's looking really strong. This is probably his biggest achievement, his most crowning moment since, winning the championship. Is just him standing tall, bloody, his comeback against Gage. Then all of a sudden Gage gigs him with a light tube, stabs him with it, bashes it over his head, and that's the one that makes him, cut his jugular or something. Something happens where...
Well, you could see him kind of twist around on it.
Yeah, they're going for the finish, which I guess is the submission thing, but Arquette all of a sudden just goes to fight or flight mode and says, nope, I'm not selling anymore.
Right.
And as he stands there, and there's a great picture of the 2 of them in this moment where Arquette is holding his neck like this, and Gage and Arquette lock eyes, and there's the fear there. That's how I read that, and that was just a really very weird moment where everything just it's going from Technicolor to black and white, like that. Everything just goes oh shit just got real. And Arquette leaves, he comes back, they shoot their way into a finish, and Gage wins the match. Arquette just pieces the fuck out. And Gage gets on the mic and says, and that's all I got out of it.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but friggin' Arquette at the end of that match sold worse than Austin Aries did at Bound for Glory. I mean, he was done, dude. He was done. I was I'm out.
I'm done play fighting. This is...
it was over. He just got up and left.
Yeah, so, it's funny because before that even happened, there was a point where Gage was grinding Arquette's face with a pizza cutter, and KG says, this is the mass trans incident times infinity. I'm like, and then that happened with the neck thing. Okay, now it's the mass transit incident. I wouldn't say times infinity. It's hard to multiply something by that number. But it was bad. It was scary. And then the show just ends after Gage cuts his promo. That was it. How do you rank this one, Biggs?
Well, I'm trying. It's all over the place, man. As far as a wrestling match, maybe 1.5. I don't know. But as far as entertainment, I'd say because of all the circumstances, maybe a 3 even. You know, just because of how much shit was going on.
I agree. I think it was, before everything went to shit with Arquette's injury, I think that the match was entertaining, had some really cool moments. I'd give it 2.5 stars. I think all told, even all things considered. I think that, props to Arquette. He went and he posted a statement on Twitter after the fact, basically saying, I fucked up. I went into a world I wasn't familiar with. I was not ready for this. I'm going to leave it to these guys. I'm never doing death matches again. And kudos to Arquette for coming through and doing it.
Right.
I hope he was paid well. He certainly got a lot of publicity out of it.
Right.
It was kind of a scary ending, knowing, what we know. Having watched it weeks after the fact and knowing what happened, I think it would have been scarier if I watched it live.
Arquette did a good job for the situation he landed himself into.
Yeah, I think he earned a lot of cred by doing this.
Right.
Whether that thing happened or not, I think he gained a lot of respect. I don't take it. I'm not going to bash Arquette for kind of snapping out of it and not wanting to play anymore, because that was I think a lot of people would have done that in that situation with that plan where you don't know if you're going to live or die.
Yeah, true. But let me just say this. I will say I was a bit confused by Nick Gage at the end of the night because maybe it was just him trying to figure out some way to send the folks home happy because I'm not sure exactly what was supposed to happen there. But he is a heel, right?
No, he's very much popular based on the crowd reaction.
Oh, well, I don't know.
People like murder, death, and killing, apparently. They're big fans of the MDK gang.
Okay, whatever. I thought he was a heel, so I thought it was weird at the end of the night he was trying to, like, thank you, fan, it's because of you.
Well, he is a heel at the Avalon because they wouldn't let him perform there, which is why they had to change venues.
Right, okay. I get it.
So there you go. That's LA Confidential. So that was our foray into looking at the wild and woolly world of independent wrestling. In a week where we're kind of saying no thank you to WWE for this week, it's kind of nice to look at an alternative and see what the cool kids are talking about, just detaching yourself from that worldview.
I get that.
And seeing what others are doing. So what were your thoughts? If this is your first exposure to GCW, what did you think of LA Confidential as a whole?
Well, being 1,000% honest, I know it's not going to be popular, but I really didn't like it. It's not my kind of show. I get it. I get the interest in it. It was a bit overbooked, in my opinion. Things went way too long. There was a lot of false finishes that made no sense. There was a lot of fuck ups, and the venue kind of sucked, and I don't know, and not Kevin Gill being bad or anything, but you could tell the whole setup was that they were fucked up and chilling and stuff like throughout. It's just not my kind of thing,
Yeah, it was a very the word you're looking for is intimate for the setting.
I guess, yeah, it was. I don't know, it's just not my thing, and not that I hate indie wrestling, so don't go there. I do like indie wrestling.
Yeah.
But this had a lot that I hate about indie wrestling. You know what I mean? Like the entranceway is a big thing to me in wrestling. I don't know why.
First impression is
but
key.
It is. But when you have a door and people are just walking out of it, and you have a ring and it's a bar, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean it's one of those shows where you either you love it or you hate it. You love this kind, you hate this kind of wrestling, and this is what GCW is in a nutshell. It is very underground. It's very it's an amplified version of what's popular and what the times are now in indie wrestling. Are we going to see any of those super flippy guys get signed to NXT? As KG said often in the commentary, time will tell, but I digress. I think it was a good representation. I think it was a good microcosm of the indie scene. I think this was a good display for GCW. Again, if you like that sort of thing. I did not hate the show like you did. I found lots of enjoyment in it. There were some points, like you said, where I thought, okay, it's getting a little long in the tooth here with these false finishes. Let's go on. Let's keep going. But I was entertained. Honestly, I was entertained more by the slower matches on the whole than I was with a lot of the spotty matches. I was more entertained by Hardcore Holly and Brody King. I was more entertained by D'Lo and Ethan Page. And that's not just me saying that because I like D'Lo Brown and I know him, but I'm just saying I like those kind of matches where they slow down and tell more of a story. The spot stuff, it's fun for what it is, and that was impressive.
Right.
Good for you,
right.
Jungle Boy and Eli Everfly, etc. I think there was a lot of good in the show, a lot of good moments in each match. There was at least something going on that I enjoyed, but there was also a lot of chaos. There was also a lot of botches, like you mentioned, between everything going on. But almost every match there was something going on that they fucked up on, and also just the chaos, and not necessarily in a good way, of the last two matches with Marko Stunt getting hurt.
Yeah, somebody almost died and then someone broke a leg.
And you couldn't see half of what went on in that Marko Stunt Eli match. And again, that's not the wrestler's fault, that's production. But then you've also got just the chaos of David Arquette and Nick Gage. Everything was going fine until, Arquette got his neck cut open. And then just things took a turn and everyone got really quiet. And so that kind of took me out of it. I mean, it was a show, it was a wild show. I recommend it to people who like the hardcore, who like the flip-de-doos, who like the style of wrestling. If that's your cup of tea, then by all means, you should go see this show. I think you will get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But if you're an old school guy or a traditionalist, maybe not so much. If you like the zany madcap things that wrestling can be, it's also a show you might enjoy.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, if you're there looking to, see a good old-fashioned pro wrestling show you can take the family to. Not so much. Mostly because the show started at 11 p.m. and went to like 3 in the morning or something like that.
Well, true. That's
and the traffic. Don't get me started on LA traffic. Am I right?
Well, maybe not at 3, but no. Yeah, that's the truth. My favorite match on the whole entire card was the Jungle Boy match. With,
yeah.
Honestly, the way that heel, his name's just slipping.
Tony Deppen.
Tony Deppen. He just played such a great heel in that whole entire match. That was out of the whole show, that was my favorite match right there.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I mean, that's more my style. Yeah. So, it's exactly like Zane said. If you like all that kind of the newer stuff and intergender, wrestling and things like that, like my old school mentality, I guess, or whatever, is thinking, well, why didn't they just put Human Tornado in that 7-man and then have the Tony Storm wrestler, or
Tony Deppen.
Or Tony Deppen. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the girl.
Penelope Ford.
Yeah. Wrestle, was it
Delilah Doom?
Yeah, Delilah Doom. Why don't they just have a one-on-one between them? Those are the kind of things that I wonder. But it
wouldn't be as interesting. And Joey Janela always goes for the interesting.
Right. So, which is cool. I would attend and probably have fun and get fucked up like commentary was doing.
Like everyone probably there was.
Right. It would be something fun to go attend. But just not my necessary cup of tea. That's all.
Well, there's our review of GCW presents Joey Janela's LA Confidential. This was a bit outside the box for us. We usually just review WWE stuff. Again, this is not Raw versus SmackDown. It's very different. So we will be returning back to the normal format next week. But if you liked this review, or if you're interested in the show, I recommend you go to Fight TV and you download Joey Janela's LA Confidential and check it out.
$15 or something, right?
Yeah, 14 actually.
14,
If you've seen the show, let us know what you thought about it in the comment section below. Give it a letter grade up. Oh, just next to Biggs' head.
Next to the egg.
Screen. Yeah, there it is. We should make that a thing. Like, click next to the egg. That'll be the new icon. Anyway, for J Biggs, I'm Brian Zane. Who Wore It Better returns next week. I'll see you next time.